Thank you for joining us on KREM 2 Plus. I'm Tim Pham. This is your KREM 2 News Recap, where we take a closer look at some of the biggest stories in the inland Northwest this past week.
Court documents describe Archie Rutherford's murder as very gruesome and violent. For 40 years, investigators didn't have any strong leads to a murder suspect. That's until they ran a DNA test this year. Tracy Pruitt is accused of killing a Spokane businessman, Archie Rutherford, at his South Hill home back in 1982. SPD announced Pruitt's arrest yesterday, and he is now charged with first-degree murder. Spokane County Court documents say on May 25, 1982, Archie's wife Eleanor returned from a trip to Seattle. She expected her husband to pick her up from the airport, but he never showed. A friend brought her home, and that's when she noticed her Honda was gone. When she went inside, she found whiskey bottles in the front room and bloody knives in the dining room. Then she discovered her husband's body in the bedroom. An autopsy determined Archie suffered multiple injuries, including several stab wounds to his neck. Fast forward to 2022. The Rutherfords' home has a new look, and Spokane detectives took a new look at the evidence. Court documents say the Washington State Patrol Crime Lab tested DNA from the crime scene in February and got results back in June. A match report confirmed the blood found in the kitchen is Pruitt's DNA. Court documents also say one set of fingerprints found on the victim's stolen Honda matched the suspects. But Pruitt's name came up before in this investigation, even before the DNA match. In 1982, his name first came up as a result of an investigation into an unauthorized use of Archie's stolen credit cards after his death. Pruitt previously served a 27-year prison sentence for rape and robbery charges in Ohio. He now lives in L.A. Once the DNA match came back this year, Spokane police coordinated his arrest with LAPD. He remains in custody in California, awaiting extradition. Now, Pruitt is currently 62 years old and would have been around 22 years old at the time of Archie Rutherford's death. Now, investigators do believe this is a random murder because they don't think the two knew each other.
Police say this man's body was found gagged, his hands tied. They do not believe this was a random attack. Both suspects arrested are convicted felons, and we found out they have extensive criminal histories.
Court documents show that back on October 23rd, a man went looking for two of his friends who were living in tents near People's Park. What he found instead was a man's body.
He said that there's a man laying with hands tied above his head. He didn't really know what was going on there. He said he attempted to try to holler at him, but didn't get a response. Not sure what's going on.
When police arrived, they found the body of 51-year-old Andy Hernandez. An autopsy revealed his neck was broken in two places. He had extensive injuries to his throat and the back of his head. Days into the investigation, police got a tip. Word was spreading around Camp Hope that 3 people, who were not residents of the camp, were involved in the murder. One of them, according to court documents, was 26-year-old John Bergen. He was arrested 5 days after the body was found on an unrelated Department of Corrections warrant. The second suspect was 27-year-old Randy Sloan. After being arrested, he agreed to talk with police and, according to court documents, said he helped Bergen kidnap the victim and bring him to the park. He claims Bergen beat the 51-year-old over the head, then used a rope to strangle and break his neck, according to court documents. Bergen refused to answer questions. He appeared before a judge this afternoon charged with first-degree murder and kidnapping.
And today a judge set Bergen's bond at $1 million. Randy Sloan has yet to appear in court for these charges. And tonight police telling us they're still searching for a third suspect.
Election day has come to a close, but the action continues here at the Spokane County Elections Office. Over half of all 360,000 registered voters have returned their ballots. And over the course of this week, the Spokane County Elections Office is looking to see that number climb. Once the election office receives your ballot, that's when Spokane County Auditor Vicki Dalton says its journey begins. Through getting your signature verified, to going through the tabulation machine, and then scanning to make sure all votes are bubbled in properly, getting all ballots counted is a group effort. As county auditor for over 20 years, Dalton has been through her fair share of election nights, but even after 20 years, she still sees every election as special.
Every election is exciting because this is the voters' opportunity to make a statement about who leads their government, or to make a statement on the measures that are on their ballot.
The elections manager says we may not see a final voter turnout number until later this month, but the office is expecting 240,000 ballots to be returned this election season, which would equal about a 66% voter turnout.
Volunteers of America will close the Hope House Women's Shelter by the end of this coming January. This is because the city of Spokane no longer has the funding to support operations. The Hope House Women's Shelter moved to its new expanded location in April of 2021. Volunteers of America says they were waiting for the city to sign a new contract that would have kept the shelter open until next June. But the city notified VOA that they would not be able to provide the $700,000 needed to keep the shelter running.
We had to come up with a game plan of how do we keep at least some of the women in Hope House, and unfortunately there really isn't anything coming in that's going to keep us open beyond the end of January.
Hope House provides services to women aged 18 and older. It includes 100 beds and 24/7 services.
We serve 80 women every night, and like Bridget said, unfortunately we do have to turn away women still who are in need of shelter, and yeah, it's just unfortunate news today.
VOA has started to give access to housing and employment services. This is something they want to continue even if Hope House closes.
We need help, and having a difficult time of navigating the public behavioral health system. So we came up with, let's just do it ourselves and integrate it in. And so even in Hope House, there is a dedicated counselor.
Brian Coddington with the City of Spokane says they tried to schedule a meeting yesterday with Volunteers of America to talk about their concerns. Coddington says it will provide $1 million to the organization this year. They also issued a call for proposals to fund shelters next year. He says Volunteers of America have the opportunity to apply for those funds. The shelter here on 3rd Avenue will stop accepting new women at the start of the new year and is planned to be fully closed by January 31st.
Outside, we can feel temperatures have dropped since the sun went down. For the people staying at this homeless encampment, they do not plan on leaving for a warmer place to stay tonight. When temperatures drop, the last place you may want to be is outside. But living outside is the reality for the reported 400 people staying at the homeless encampment near I-90 in Freya. Julie Garcia with Jules Helping Hands says people here are battling the cold. So for Julie Garcia, that means it's time to make sure there are resources to keep these people safe.
As we sleep, there's people sleeping outside in this cold, and as much padding as we can give them, they're still outside in this weather.
Garcia says churches have provided warm water tanks and hundreds of sleeping bags, and the WashDOT-funded security guards are keeping an eye on burn barrels to keep people warm, but also make sure property doesn't catch on fire. She says there is also a warming tent inside the camp that operates 24 hours a day. But there are challenges colder conditions put on her organization.
Every morning we do tent checks at 6 a.m. That means we go tent to tent and make sure everybody survived the night.
Garcia says her organization needs more support from the city.
We need a warming center. Camp Hope and its 450-ish guests is only part of this population. There are still folks downtown, there are still folks throughout our county that need to go inside somewhere to not die in the winter.
The city is encouraging people to use available shelter space to find warmth. According to the city, 30% of shelter space was in use as of last Wednesday. Garcia says for those who are ready, her organization is helping to move people to the Trent Shelter, 3 miles from the camp. As of Sunday night, the Trent Shelter reported 223 people in-house. With 250 beds and 100 mats, the shelter is able to hold up to 350 people. But with over 400 people reported at the camp and several people staying on the streets downtown, it's a numbers game to find everyone a warm place to stay. We've reached out to Catholic Charities for an update on the Catalyst Project, which is set to bring 100 beds to the Quality Inn off of Sunset Boulevard. At last check, that project is set to launch December 1st.
Spokane drivers will be happy to know some of Spokane's major road construction projects are almost done. And right now, some traffic is already back to normal.
The city of Spokane says the unusual fall weather came as a blessing and a curse. A blessing because the warmer temperatures in October allowed the street department to squeeze in a few extra maintenance projects. The curse came when we got the cold winter snap, and then it stuck around. The rain, snow, and cold temperatures delayed the asphalt process on North Monroe and paused the final phase of work on Riverside Avenue. Despite this, these major projects are almost done.
On North Monroe, the plan is to open all lanes of traffic by next Friday. Now, at Riverside Avenue, right now, all lanes of traffic are open for the winter. And finally, all lanes at Thor and Freya, including the eastbound I-90 exit ramp, are expected to open in the next 2 weeks.
So it's a good sign cones are getting cleared from the roads, like here on Monroe this afternoon, because it means the end of construction is in sight.
NOAA released its 2022-2023 winter forecast, and with colder than normal equatorial Pacific sea surface temperatures, that means a La Nina is at play once again. We're talking colder than normal and wetter than normal conditions for much of the Northwest. Feels a bit like deja vu. Yeah, this year's shaping up to be cooler and wetter than normal here across the inland Northwest. But this year is already looking different. The atmospheric pattern that brings more moisture and cooler temperatures to the region is already present. It's set up quick, but that ridge over the Pacific and the storm track over the Northwest is exactly the pattern that played into some of our biggest snow seasons ever recorded. Unfortunately, the pattern present now doesn't guarantee us a winter of snowy wonder. Yowzers! Woo! Weather patterns change, and just as we saw last year, a small shift in storm track can affect an entire season's storm totals. But last year was different. After a slow start to winter, a southwesterly storm track set up. That meant plenty of warm temperatures and rain down in low elevations, but up in the mountains, steady, beneficial snow. While snow levels were nearly non-existent in valleys, the mountains boasted a jump in snowpack early in the season that got us through a pattern shift that we just couldn't kick. By mid-January, a ridge of high pressure set up overhead. That kept all of the moisture out of the region. Rain and snow were hard to come by. And not until spring did we see that La Nina pattern set up, bringing storm after storm over the region and tons of rain, snow, and cooler temperatures that took us into the start of summer. That pattern is present right now. And if it holds, we are talking a cooler and wetter winter. So with a La Nina forecast, it's likely we wind up somewhere between Camilla and Mark on a stool. I'm doubling down. Last year, we talked about how in Spokane, an average winter boasts about 46 inches of snow, or one Camilla. This year we have Camilla and Lucas, and since they've grown a bit, I'm gonna need you guys to crouch down ever so perfect. Right there. Up to about, one Mark on a stool. Mark, if I could? Yep. So this winter, heading into La Nina, we could get anywhere between Camilla and Lucas to a Mark on a stool. A year ago, I stood in central Washington and said a 2 to 3 foot winter wasn't out of the question. That stands headed into this year. In Coeur d'Alene, we talked last year about how an average winter delivers about my eyebrows worth of snow. Now, all of that snow isn't going to be on the ground all at once, and with a La Nina at play, it's likely we get a little more. But with those colder temperatures, that snow will likely be seen more along sidewalks and city streets throughout the year. I'm already dreaming of fresh turns and clean snow all winter long. So for that reason, and the La Nina in place, I'm doubling down. We're talking tons tons of snow. Might not be one for the record books, but we're at least going to be talking some clean turns in those mountains all winter long. As we head into winter, the Northwest is once again in need of moisture. More than half of the Northwest is facing some sort of drought. So with the La Nina on the horizon, that's good news because it means colder temperatures and more snow, and that snow staying on the ground, not just in low elevations, but up in the mountains where it can be beneficial for much of the dry summer months ahead. So maybe, just maybe, the third time's the charm.
It's opening day here at the 49-degree ski resort, and I'm here at the top of the mountain. It actually takes over a mile to get down to the bottom. You can see the snowboarders and skiers coming off the lift right now. And I'm told that this is the earliest they've ever opened up.
It's awesome. Smells perfect today.
When Duke Swanson heard that the 49 Degrees North Ski Resort was opening early, he knew he couldn't miss out. He was one of the first people on the mountain.
Being in powder and just being able to float, it feels like I'm surfing. I love the feeling to surf, so just being able to float, the snow moves me, so I don't know, it's nice.
The resort is celebrating its 50-year anniversary this season. GM Eric Bakken says he couldn't wait to get open.
Wonderful opening day. We decided to open because we had enough snow to open. We thought people are really ready to get out here and get on the snow. We got the snow. Why would we stay closed?
Bakken hopes for a good snow year. He wants to stay open until April. He says that this is only the third time in the resort's history they've opened this early.
I've skied here since the area opened, and in the 70s, never seen it this early.
The resort just opened up a new ski lift last season. Even the newest skiers and snowboarders had to experience that.
It's been a little challenging. I would love to start going down the harder hills once I get turning down.
And for Duke, well, he might just have to play hooky to get his fun in.
I want to get 50 days this year. I've skied, last year I think we got 36, so maybe I could do it. I don't know. I might have to skip some school for that.
If you want to check out the resort, day tickets are $49 for adults and $44 for youth 17 and younger. So the resort will be open through the end of this weekend and next weekend, and I'm told that people who come will get an early season ticket discount. But for right now, I gotta find a way to get down. Let's go, Galen. In Chuila, Nathan Hyun, KREM 2 News.
The Spokane County Sheriff's Office, FBI, the Department of Justice, and the DOD have spent the last 3 years tracking Wahid Khashifi around the world. Today, we learned he was arrested in Europe about 2 weeks ago, and now the extradition process is underway.
Sheriff Ozzy Knezovich says law enforcement captured Wahid Khashifi in Europe last month.
This is a case where we tracked this guy on 3 continents.
He had fled Afghanistan to Iran. After being in Iran for a period of time, he fled back to Afghanistan before going to Turkey and then eventually landing in Europe.
Wahid fled the country in 2019, just days before deputies found the body of his ex-wife Arizu hidden under the false bottom of a freezer. When detectives located his car at the Spokane International Airport, they discovered a confession video on Wahid's cell phone.
He admitted to the homicide. He gave a full confession as to why he did it, and it's very telling.
That note, though, I mean, is there any reason to believe he was coerced into filming this video, admitting himself?
Based on what I saw in the video, absolutely not.
Detective Melville says through a partnership with the FBI, DOJ, and DOD, they were able to track Wahid to a volleyball tournament in Europe.
That was something that he was, very passionate about. He was an avid volleyball player here in Spokane with the local Afghani community. And during our searches for him, we determined that he potentially would be attending this volleyball tournament at this location. We let the authorities there know They arrived in that area and actually successfully took him into custody.
Investigators didn't specify exactly which European country Kashifi was arrested in, because they say they don't want to jeopardize the extradition process. When he does return to Spokane, Wahid will stand trial for first-degree murder. Investigators say bringing the suspect back to the U.S. from another country is a complex process, which is why they say it could take a year or longer to bring Kashifi back to Spokane.
The population here in the city of Hayden has grown over 20% in the last decade. And as a result of this growth and increased police calls, the city says the need for police deputies has become more noticeable. The city of Hayden is known for its scenic views and tasty fruit, and most people like its small town feel. But over the last decade, the city's population has grown by more than 4,000 people.
City is not a rural city anymore. It's an urban city.
As a result of its growth, the city wanted to increase its law enforcement presence. On Tuesday, Hayden's law enforcement levy passed with a 63% vote.
This is something we were hoping. This is helps us provide more effective services for the city, the residents, quicker response, officer safety, and it also gets the deputies out into the rural areas of the county and allows the county's residents to be served with law enforcement services as well.
The city will be adding 6 deputies to the 4 deputies that are already assigned to Hayden. With the levy approval, the Hayden budget will increase by $500,000 to cover the additional deputies. The city says this process took more than a decade because they couldn't afford their own police department.
The contract with the county was a good deal at the time, that if we were to do our own police department, we would be around $3 million. It wasn't until 2018 we started looking at this again.
Brett Boyer, who is the city administrator of Hayden, says that up to 2011, only 1 deputy was assigned to Hayden. It took until 2017 for the city council to approve the budget for 4 deputies to be assigned. He's glad the people of Hayden knew how much this change was needed.
Public safety is one of the important things when you're providing services to the citizens. It's important to them to have a safe community, and so I think we heard that.
Boyer says the additional deputies can't come soon enough. According to the sheriff's office, Hayden received over 10,000 911 calls last year. The Kootenai County Sheriff's Office says that they plan to hire and train 6 deputies next year so that they can be fully operational in Hayden by early 2024.
Take a look at this. These are all the Tom's Turkey Drive volunteers right here. Thank you. What a group. They're getting all the canned goods ready for the Tom's Turkey Drive bags, which are on sale all month long now at all ROCKSTARS stores. For $20, you can feed a family in need a complete Thanksgiving dinner. Couldn't do it without these fabulous volunteers. Oh, look, this is Michelle, right?
Michelle, yes.
Michelle, thank you so much. Why do you come down here and volunteer?
Oh my gosh, well, we are down here with a group of my really good friends, and we just want to give back to our community. It's a fun way to come and enjoy some company with each other and then do good for our citizens of Spokane. So,
gosh, you're the greatest. You know, we can't do it without our volunteers, and we can't do it without folks going to ROCKSTARS and digging down deep and saying, okay, I want to help a family in need. $20, you get to get a complete Thanksgiving meal. Please stop in at ROCKSTARS today.
10, 33, 41, 47, 56. Those might sound like just 5 random numbers, but those 5 numbers just paid one former Airway Heights Maverick customer $1 million. Store director Brian Malador says recent news put an unexpected spotlight on his store.
We've had a couple of customers make mention, like, hey, we saw on the news, like, was it this store? And, you know, we tell them, oh yeah, that was us.
The reason people are talking, Malador's store sold a $1 million winning ticket in Monday's Powerball draw.
We all thought that that was really exciting to be, you know, have that happen in our little store right here in Airway Heights, because you know, you don't really hear about those kinds of things. You always hear, oh, somebody in New York, it's somebody in California, but you know, having it happen here at home is neat.
Malador says he doesn't know when or to whom the winning ticket was sold. He says as the Powerball continued to grow, so did local lottery ticket sales.
We probably sold easily 100-200% more than what we normally do.
But it only took one of those transactions
Good luck on those tickets.
to make one lucky winner $1 million richer.
I don't know who it was, I don't know who sold it, but somebody's life is changing.
According to the Washington's lottery, the odds of matching 5 Powerball numbers and winning $1 million is 1 in 11.7 million. Officials say over 1.3 million tickets were sold in the state for Monday's drawing. This is the second Maverick location in the country to sell a $1 million winning ticket this month. Washington's lottery officials say this is the first big lottery win for the Airway Heights Maverick. And for the store director, he says he's happy his store is playing a part in potentially changing someone's life.
My name is Gage Lang, and I'm the owner of BREAUXDOO Bakery here in Spokane Valley, Washington. We're a rock and roll American pastry shop. It was like a blend of my love of voodoo donuts and then my time at Biscuit, which was like a rock and roll biscuit shop. So we brought that menu here and then combined my love for pastry and rock and roll in one. So that's BREAUXDOO. I just have a profound love for Kurt and Courtney. So we took our lemon cookie, our chocolate chip cookie, and then our slice of cake up there. So we blended them in, and then in Kurt's glasses, he's got cookies, and then he's wearing our skull emblem on the shirt. For BREAUXDOO, it was a combination of coffee, brewing, and then the sounding of do voodoo. We were mostly a delivery service when we started, and then we have a lot of wholesale accounts, so we sell to local coffee stands and grocery stores. And then our end goal was to have a retail shop, so we finally made it, and that's what this is. We're doing our biscuit dough here. Everything in our bakery is made from scratch. So biscuit dough, portioning, pressing. Then we freeze them because we use a high-fat butter. So if we didn't freeze them, they'd be like a foot wide. So we have to freeze them to contain that butter, and then we bake them off fresh every morning. I did a little bit of pastry school in high school with this gal here, and then the rest was just in the field and self-taught. And so I think pastry school was a good place to touch on everything, but then really it's up to you after that to figure your voice out in food. So we've got a little bit of everything, and then adding that breakfast just is one more thing. That we've never been open at 7 a.m. and now we are. So come get breakfast, coffee, dessert, bring your family, bring your friends.
Thank you for joining us here on KREM 2 Plus for a look at some of the biggest news stories of the past week in Spokane and the rest of the Inland Northwest. For the most up-to-date news throughout the weekend, you can watch our very latest newscast right here on KREM 2 Plus. Just look for them in the bottom navigation menu. I'm Tim Pham. Thanks for watching.